Hi guys, what I have here, sorry, my name is Jeremiah, and what I have here is a Star Trek V Communicator Walkie Talkie number 652. It's put out for Star Trek V, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a Star Trek III Communicator. Okay? What we have to do is first remove this top flip grid, so open it up and find a little area that you can access with a screwdriver and work it off of the peg. Alright, and then let's work it off the peg on this side. Okay. So now the flip grid is off. Now I'm going to be getting rid of the pegs anyway, so it really doesn't matter if you break it, just don't break this. Okay? Alright, now, second, what we have to do is remove this screw here. This just holds the walkie-talkie circuit board and everything in place. Okay, so we have that there, flip grid there. I'm going to remove the battery cover, and you're going to find a little spot. I found that in the corner here, you can kind of press a little bit. There's like 3 tabs here, and I believe 2 tabs on this side that hold it together. But we're going to take it, you're going to find your screwdriver if you can, kind of push, see, kind of push in and you'll find a spot for your screwdriver. And if you see, there's one of the pegs there. Then I'm going to follow it down to the second peg. Oops. Don't want to get that one back in there, so let me keep that peg off of that. Use that damn peg. If you press in on one side, you can kind of feel where it locks in at. Actually, there's 2 tabs on this side. Sorry, using my tripod to... Oh, putting it back in there. I don't want it back in there. There we go. Just kind of push and twist and you'll get it off of there. Okay, so with the back piece off, like that, we now have access to the main circuit board. And we're going to remove this. It's got 1, 2, 3, 3 screws that hold it in place. There's one. There's 2. And for the third one, it's here at the antenna. Okay. So now, this... We'll keep this together just a little bit. Okay. So it's just like that. So we have to dislodge the speaker. When you're pulling away, it only goes so far because you have that speaker in there. Let's see, it's got a little glue on it, this one. There it is. So you just have to unlatch that speaker, and then you'll have the shell. Okay, now we have this shell here. Now, these, you're going to have to Dremel these off, these buttons here. But if you look on the underside, you can actually see that it's recessed. It's not full plastic. So what you have to do, you have to fill that in, okay? And I use this JB Weld plastic bonder. 2-part mix works very well. We're also going to fill in the side where the push button went. We're going to fill that hole in with the same JB Weld. We're going to fill in this on and off switch with the JB Weld, and this hole right there for the antenna as well with the JB Weld. I also I backfill this speaker in so it gets into the holes from this side. So then when I do remove some of this, which you're going to see I have to do, I have to also Dremel this off. I leave half of it on and paint it silver, but with the glue on the inside, it doesn't. It totally. It keeps. It makes it a flat surface underneath. Because if I was just to start trimming that away, there would be a certain point to where it just gave way. There's nothing else holding it together. But if you backfill it with the JB Weld plastic bonder, it fills in the holes and it gives you a little bit of structure to work with when you're removing. Okay. Now I've also gone ahead on my other one and removed this half of the JB Weld. Once I got it in place, did my trimming, did my painting and everything, then I was able to remove the JB Weld from this side, which then allows me to then replace the speaker, and then I'm going to have my other one on a reed switch. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. What I had to do was go and get this one. Well, this is the one I've made before this one. It's what gave me the idea to do these. It's still a work in progress, as you see, but this is the idea that I'm going for with this. Now, I was thinking of maybe doing a better updated Star Trek V by cutting this out and replacing this with like a light-up screen that actually happened. And I could possibly find some Gray Hill buttons that could actually just function. That's a second idea. This idea here is the Star Trek III, okay? And like I said, this is this. If you see, the buttons have been removed. I could do a better job at that, but at this time, when you're getting down to what it looks like there, I'm sanding into the backfill that I put in there. That's backfill. Some of this is still the top of the button that I was able to keep for structure. Sorry, my camera. Sorry, but this is, I had to get 2 more screws. I drilled 3 holes, added 2 screws. I kept the top part here. I minused 2 lines, 1, 2, 1 at the top here I minused. But with the backfill, it fills everything in. And then I counted out 6, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I counted out 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, everything within the little screen I kept. This top one and everything was backfilled. And this is actually a little bitty clothespin that I went to, not Hobby Lobby. Yeah, Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby. Now, I was looking around for the little fuse puller that they use on the Star Trek III, but this communicator is much smaller than that communicator they used in Star Trek III, so I had to improvise. And I found some clothespins, really miniature clothespins, and I just had to sand it down on one side, just sand it down a little bit more to give it kind of that weird shape, and then I just glued that right in there. I added the line here, and I added the line that connects this and connects this, because if you see, there's no line here. It's just open. It's just an open bar. So I had to go back in with this JB Weld plastic bonder. After you mix it, then I went in with a toothpick and I added the lines here. These 3 lines. I added those lines. Then I went back in after it was done and I sanded and dremeled to where it was a line. Now I kept this. That gray is actually the same grid. I just never removed it. I just painted it a gray, like a silver color. a metallic silver. And then over here I painted everything blue. I drilled 3 holes like I said, and let's see, it's the back. What I did was I originally backfilled everything on this communicator with JB Weld here, and like I said, after I got done I removed it, so now I can still put the speaker in there if I choose and have it speak, well, not speak, but have sound. And that's my next thing for this. My next plan is up here I got rid of the pegs, okay, and I drilled through I knocked the peg off and I drilled right through it. And I added my own screw. And on the back here, I'm going to have washers and like a lock nut that keep it together so that it doesn't come out when you're flipping it open. I also need to add some little paint to the top here. But this here has a stem in it that attaches the back of the body to there. Now, you really don't need that because it does come with these side pegs that lock in, so that stem can be removed. And I'm thinking cutting that stem off, sanding it flush, and then drilling a hole in here, just one round hole, maybe one round, maybe 2 round holes. Not very big, but big enough for small LED lights to be put in. And what I have is I went to Lowe's, and they have a section there that Lowe's cuts plexiglass. Hold on. All right, I'm back. What I had to do is I ran in here and grabbed this. Now, this is just scrap plexi. I went to Lowe's. You can go to Home Depot, and they must have a section there where they're cutting glass and they're cutting plastic. And, you'll find scraps on the floor. This is a long scrap I found on the floor. Cost me nothing. I just found it on the floor. And it's got the plastic on here, so when you peel it off, it'll be clear. Now, my idea. Since I am not very good at drilling a triangle and drilling a small rectangle for the lights to blink on and off in the blue and red configuration they do. But I am smart enough to drill 2 small holes, one on top of each other, one and then maybe a little space in between and another one. So I'll have enough room to stick 2 LEDs back here. So they'll have 2 holes here and 2 LED lights, not pushed all the way through, but just enough to go to the top of this part. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cut them off. Well, I'm going to paint it first, but I'm going to cut it off and cut it into the size of a small square. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to cut it into the size of a small square. And on this, I can put my masking tape. This masking tape, by the way, is what you put on the outside of the line. You can put masking tape on here and then with your thumb trace that mid plate, and you can make the tape flat right on top of there. Do it at the top here with tape, and on the back side you'll do that with tape as well. And then when you backfill it, after it dries, you can remove the tape and then just do a little bit of sanding, and you'll get that. So I taped it on the outside and then backfilled it and then removed the tape, and you can do a little bit of sanding, but that is just perfect. It fills in. It fills it in perfectly. I did the same thing here. Here's that mid plate I was talking about. I put tape on it, and then I took my finger and just kind of traced along where a mid plate would be. After I backfilled it, put a little glue in there for a backfill. Once it starts to dry a little bit, you can put your finger on the tape and kind of make that line. All right, and you can do it at the top here as well for that mid plate. You just put your finger and run your finger across the tape while the putty's still a little wet, and it will give it that shape. So you really don't have to do much, but just a little sanding just to clean it up, make it look good. I still have to paint this body black, but my intention is you take some masking tape, all right, and you put masking tape. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a little, put masking tape here, and you cut a little triangle, and you cut a little rectangle in the masking tape, okay? And then you remove the masking tape, leaving the triangle and the little rectangle tape still together there, all right? And then what you do is you paint the plexi the same color as the communicator's cradle right here, so it matches. And then what you do is you take the little piece that you cut off, that you paint and has the masking tape on it, and what you do is you remove the little triangle and the little rectangle masking tape, which leaves a little clear triangle and a little clear rectangle on the now colored blue piece of plexi that you then glue on top of the two holes. You take a little small piece of it and you glue that right on top of there, and that will give it that raised look that the movie has, and it will also take care of giving you a triangle and a rectangle that the red and the blue light from underneath can blink through without having to cut a triangle and a rectangle into here. Just something I came up with. You take a piece of plexi, put your tape on it, cut a triangle and a rectangle, then remove the rest of the tape, leaving the triangle and the rectangle, cut the piece of plexi off, paint it, and then glue that on top of the LED light bulb, the two lights that you have in there. Then what you're going to do is on the back here is this can open up. You've got a washer and another screw here to kind of match the movie. But on the back side of here, you're going to have a lock nut, maybe a washer. Now there's where you have a reed switch. You can find these little speakers anywhere. Hell, you could just reuse this one if you really wanted to, because it just relays message. It's just a speaker. You can just remove it. The solder is right here. Just remove get it hot with a solder gun, and you could just pull the wires off, and the speaker will come out. So what you do is you're going to reuse that speaker or another speaker of the same size. You can put that speaker in there. Now it has an on and off switch with the power. See on here, if you're thinking about reusing this, you can if you have a broken one. See, this is your power wire. Okay, this goes into your power board. If I'm getting too technical, just kind of try and follow along. So when you plug in the battery, it goes into it's split across for this switch to turn it on or turn it off. It gives the power to those two power. It gives power. So my idea again, making a reed switch, putting a small speaker back in here. You still have, I can buy this little plug for a 9-volt battery or whatever, because it's already made for a 9-volt battery. This is kind of perfect. It's already made for a 9-volt battery. And you can always, you're not going to do anything with this, but you can be able to remove that battery at any time to rechange it or to change it. So now that you have the two LED lights and you have a speaker and they're going to nothing, okay, you get you tie them together in the light circuit with the speaker circuit, and you're going to have a soundboard. I've been looking at the old Playmates callback Star Trek Communicator, the original series. It had two buttons on the side that you could activate the sounds with, and when you flip it open you could activate the sounds and the lights. That would be great for this. If you see right here, I've got the two screws and I've got them down with a washer, so they're not going anywhere. But up here, put a washer on here, run wires to the power wire, and the wires will touch. When you open the communicator, when you have that lock washer on there, that will follow with the screw. See the screws moving? So you're going to glue part of the washer in place. You're going to have a wire over here, and you're going to have a wire on the end of the screw. So when it opens, the wires touch. So when you're opening the lid, there's no circuit now, the power's off. But as soon as you open the communicator, in the back there, the screw will follow around that's taped, that has you could solder a piece of the live wire to it. that touches the other live wire that's mounted up here, and it completes the circuit. So while it's open, you can get the common because I was looking at that Playmates communicator, and it has about the same kind of chirp that is used on this. So I was going to take the inside out, use the speaker from that, the little wire the buttons to here, so it's always off when you have it closed, but when you open it, the wires will touch, making the reed switch connection, and you'll hear the sound of the communicator come through here, and at the same time it activates the red and the green light down here that you have made with your plexi, and voila, there you have a Star Trek III communicator made out of a Star Trek V. Now I don't want to push it and lock it into place. I mean, I guess I could, but I really don't want to, because I'm still working on it. The last thing you want to get it to like the final stages and then snap, and then you're like, oh fuck. But I'm going to paint the communicator black with a gold mid plate. I have to paint the side of the grid gold, and this top part up here, I tape that off when I paint it. I'm going to make that white. Just paint that white. And then you'll have your own Star Trek III Search for Spock communicator. And like I say, once you get it working, it'll have sound and lights. But if you don't want to do that, you can still do the triangle in red and green, the triangle in the rectangle, glue it into place. There you go. But I was thinking, since I'm not really good at drilling out triangles and rectangles, this is what my plan is, to just get this scrap. Like I said, put a piece of masking tape over it, do my best skills of cutting out a triangle, cutting out a rectangle, removing the tape without removing the rectangle and the triangle that I had on tape, the tape that I had just cut. And with that, then you spray paint that the same color blue that you have spray painted this, so it all matches. Then you just snip it, or you could probably snip it if you want to before you could probably snip it before you paint it if you want to, and that way you can kind of sand it down like at a bevel. You could add a routed angle to it, your piece, so it's not like a square piece. It's not just like that. You could just take a little sandpaper and just knock off the edge, so it's like it's smooth. So it still has that raised area. It's still smooth. It's just when you glue this down and you don't see that whole edge, because it'll be beveled out and then it'll be painted, and then you just glue this with a JB Weld on top of the spot for the two holes for the lights, and voila, you're done. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I've got a few sets of these, and I'm going to go ahead and just do the same thing I did with this, except I'm going to remove this grid and place a piece of white plexi behind here with like a white light, or with a light, so when I do the read, and just run a read switch again, and then this will light up. And maybe get some Gray Hill buttons and trim that out and put Gray Hills in there. Who knows? I had even thought of doing another Star Trek III communicator, and then, well, I couldn't really replace the innards because there would be no place for the antenna to pop out, and no place. It was an idea. I was like, well, I could just, well, if you wanted to, you could without sealing it, you could change little things about the face and knock off for the screws and do everything about it, but leave the holes. And then if you wanted to, you could put this back together, and then you'll have two Star Trek III Walkie Talkie communicators, which nobody has. But these are all in the mind. These are all of my afterthoughts of doing things. Once I started working on this, I was like, oh, great. Now I can see that I should go down a little bit further on that sanding. But like I say, when you start doing that, you're getting into the backfill of the buttons. So for me, I don't care about the visualization that you can still see partial of the button. Because if I was to sand it down, it would be I'd probably run into more problems trying to sand that flatter than it is. But like I say, once you add the light in the middle and glue, I mean, if you even wanted to, you could just cut this off and glue that on top of there once you got the red and the blue, and nobody would even see the buttons that were still there. You know what I'm saying? But this is what I was going to do. I also got more scrap of this so that I could add this behind the once I cut the inside out for the real start like he did for Shatner. I could add this behind there with a light, and I could turn it on. And depending on how I feel, I could add any color light bulb I want. I think they just used a bright white, and I think I can either just use my clear or get a piece of white plexi and put it behind there. But that's just my ideas, the ravings of a lunatic. All right, guys, thank you for joining me. Oh, I think I'm going to start offering a service where I can build up. If you have a Star Trek V communicator and you want me to make, and you want a Star Trek III communicator, I think I'm going to start a service where I can start making these. As long as you send me this, and then whatever price I choose for the commission, it'll cover the price of the parts and my labor, and then I'll make you a Star Trek III communicator out of your Star Trek V communicator. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Any questions, any comments, let me know. It's December 27th right now. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. It's 2 days after Christmas. I mean, it's not sunshine, but look, I'm out here in shorts and a t-shirt. So I was going to try and do a build-up of it here, but like I say, it's December 27th. We're having a fluke summer day. Look, I'm outside, Louisville, Kentucky, December 27th. So we're having a little bit of a fluke weather, so I can't really go through the whole build-up because then I'd have to show you the sanding and the painting and the dremeling, and that's going to be like it takes at least a week to get one of these just non-stop going at it. So unfortunately at the moment I can't really do that because the weather isn't permitted for me to continue on with part 2 and part 3 and part 4 of the video. What am I wrong? What's wrong with me? I don't know, I guess I'll do it. Anyway, this will be a summertime activity. I still got some Geordie visors I need to complete and some other things that is made for summertime. I just wanted to take this time to give you a baseline idea of what you're going to have to do. It's not that hard, and once you start getting your going at it, you're the boss. You know what you're looking for. With me, I even took the time and sanded off everything but Star Trek Communicator on the back. It has all this little crap warnings and all this other stuff. So what I did was I just took my sandpaper and just sanded down everything on the back except Star Trek Communicator. I like the Star Trek trademark communicator thing. So what I'm going to do when I repaint this in the black, that's the only thing it's going to see on the back, because it's the only thing you're going to really feel with your hand, or when you pick it up or anything, you're going to say, oh, Star Trek Communicator. So it'll be like my original. But you could go all the way down and sand it down to nothing. And if you wanted to, you could backfill this with a little bit of that JB Bond and then sand it down to where it's flush, and you won't have that little bit of a recess, but that's really nitpicking if you had to. Like I say, once it's together and you have it painted black, you won't see where the spot was that I had to glue for that, and you won't see those holes either. Everything will be black, remain blue, paint the inside of the antenna grid gold, just this arch and just this arch gold. So when it shuts, it's gold on the sides. But hey, this took me like a couple of days and just a few hours a day. And the reason I picked this was because I had one that had broken off. When you open this, after so long, the little tabs break off. And once they break off, then there's no help for that. You can't really do anything about it. So instead of just tossing this in the trash, thinking it was garbage, I took my ingenuity and a little initiative, and I'm in the process of making a Star Trek III communicator. Alright guys, thank you for viewing.